pray. I stumble through the longest day, but here I stand. The storms have passed, the echoes fade, the weight is gone. I see the dawn, I see the dawn. Lord, I remember every step you gave, through the valleys deep and the tidal wave. Oh, I'm grateful, so grateful today.
What are you watching? Who are you listening to? What voices are shaping your beliefs?
What if the overthinking, the tight chest, and the constant weight on your shoulders isn't just a mental battle, but a spiritual one?
God, please give me the strength to get through this day. I'm so tired.
Let's be real. Life is a lot. For Sarah, a mother of 2 and rising executive, the pressure never stopped. From a.m. until midnight, it was back-to-back deadlines, school drop-offs, meal prepping, meetings, and always, everyone else first. Her body ran on caffeine, her soul ran on fumes. Then came the panic attacks, and the AM cries she didn't tell anyone about. And then there's James, on the outside, a successful project manager. But inside? Crushed by anxiety. One mistake at work, and he thought he'd lose everything. His heart would race in meetings. He couldn't sleep. He lost his joy. His faith felt distant, like God had gone silent. Sound familiar? Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Stress doesn't just come from what's happening around you. It comes from what's missing inside you, and that missing piece is peace. But here's the good news. Peace isn't something you have to chase. It's already available to you through faith. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 29 in today's video. I'm going to show you 5 of the simplest, yet most powerful ways to instantly boost your faith and reduce stress right where you are. No fancy tools. No perfect routines. Just real-life habits that can shift your mind, calm your heart, and anchor your soul. We'll explore ancient truth for modern struggles. We'll break spiritual wisdom into practical steps. And we'll return to promises like, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46 verse 10. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. John 16 verse 33. This isn't about religion. It's about restoration. It's about resetting your soul and remembering who holds your tomorrow. By the end of this video, you'll feel lighter, stronger, and more rooted than ever before. Let's begin.
I see the dawn, I see the dawn. Lord, I remember every step you gave.
Stress is a warning light, a signal that something is off. Sometimes it is your body saying, "I need rest." Other times it is your soul whispering, "You have forgotten who is really in control in today's world." We are trained to grind, to push, to achieve. We are constantly being told that success is in our hustle, peace is in productivity, and control is everything. But what happens when all that effort still leaves you anxious? What happens when the more you try to manage life, the more it slips through your fingers? That is where faith steps in. Faith does not remove the problems, it reframes them. It does not always change what is happening around you, but it completely transforms what is happening within you. Take Sarah again. The moment things started to shift for her was not when her schedule cleared up or her boss became nicer. It was the moment she whispered, in total exhaustion, "God, I cannot carry this anymore." And for the first time, she did not feel shame in saying that. She felt relief. Because surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. James experienced the same thing. One night, while driving home after a brutal day at work, he turned off the music, gripped the steering wheel, and cried. Not tears of defeat, but tears of release. He prayed for the first time in months. And though his situation did not change overnight, he did. That is the power of faith. It brings peace in the middle of pressure. Jesus did not promise us a life free from trouble. In fact, he said the opposite. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart. I have overcome the world. John 16, verse 33. This is why faith is the antidote to stress, because when life feels like it is spiraling out of control, faith reminds you that God never loses control. When your mind is spinning with what ifs and worst case scenarios, faith anchors you in truth, in promises. In eternal perspective, stress says, it is all up to me. Faith says, God is with me. And when you believe that, deeply, daily, your heart begins to rest. Now, let us dive into the first practical way you can start experiencing that peace today.
Winds once roared, the skies were gray.
The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. And most of us, we start with chaos. We wake up to buzzing alarms, endless notifications, emails, bad news, and the rush to get things done. Before we even take a deep breath, we are already on defense, already anxious, already behind. But here is the truth. You cannot live a peaceful life if your mind begins each day in panic. That is why the first and possibly most powerful way to boost your faith and reduce stress is this. Start your day with surrender.it. Sounds simple, but it is revolutionary. Before the world rushes in, give the day to God. Before your phone grabs your attention, give your attention to your Creator. Even just 5 minutes of intentional stillness can change everything. That is what Sarah began doing. Instead of grabbing her phone the moment she woke up, she sat on the edge of her bed, placed her hand over her heart, and whispered a simple prayer. God, this is your day. I can't do it all, but you can. Lead me, steady me, use me. It wasn't a long, dramatic moment. It wasn't even religious, but it was powerful. That small act of surrender created space for peace. There's a reason Psalm 46 verse 10 says, be still, and know that I am God. Not be busy, not be perfect, be still. Stillness is spiritual warfare in a noisy world, and for James, he began using the first 10 minutes of his mornings for silent reflection. No talking, no music, just quiet time with God, reading a verse, sipping his coffee, and releasing his expectations for the day. Was his job still stressful? Sure, but his heart wasn't constantly reacting. He was rooted before the chaos began. Surrender isn't about giving up. It is about giving control back to the one who actually has it. So tomorrow morning, before anything else, take a pause. Close your eyes, breathe, speak to God, even if it is just one sentence. That moment of surrender might not change the world around you, but it will absolutely change the way you move through it. Ready for the next one? Let us talk about how what you feed your mind affects what you feel.
Roared, the skies were gray. I stumbled through the...
If your faith feels weak and your anxiety feels strong, ask yourself this question. What am I feeding more, my fear or my faith? Because here's a hard truth. Your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant in it grows. Plant doubt, negativity, and worst-case scenarios. Anxiety will flourish. Plant truth, hope, and promises from God. Faith will rise. The battle for peace is often won or lost in what you allow into your mind. Take James, for example. He didn't realize how much noise he had been absorbing. Every morning, he would scroll through news articles filled with fear, listen to coworkers complain, and binge content that only magnified his worries. And then he'd wonder why he felt spiritually dry and mentally exhausted. So he made a shift. He created a simple rule: no negativity before AM instead. He started his day listening to a worship song, reading a short Bible verse, or playing a sermon on his commute, and the results were noticeable. Not because life got easier, but because his faith got louder. Sarah did something similar. Every time she caught herself spiraling with what-if thoughts, what if I fail? What if I am not enough? What if I disappoint everyone? She would stop and speak truth over herself. Literally out loud, she would say verses like, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4 verse 13, faith isn't just something you have. It is something you build. And building takes intentionality. You would not expect your body to be strong if you fed it junk and never moved. So why expect your spirit to thrive if all you feed it is doubt? When you are constantly stressed, check your inputs. What are you watching? Who are you listening to? What voices are shaping your beliefs? To feed your faith and starve your doubts, you have to get deliberate about your atmosphere. Put truth on repeat. Drown out the lies with worship, scripture, and godly wisdom. Faith grows when it's fed, and when your faith grows, stress begins to shrink. Now let us move from mental noise to sacred silence and see how stillness becomes a weapon.
Stand. The storms have passed. The echoes fade. The weight is gone.
Silence can feel uncomfortable. That awkward moment when there's no music. No conversation, no podcast, no scrolling. Just stillness. Most of us run from silence because when it's quiet, the noise inside us gets louder. But what if that silence isn't the enemy? What if it's the exact space where God speaks? In a world addicted to noise, silence is a spiritual superpower, and it might be the missing link between your stress and your peace. Sarah found this out the hard way. Her days were jam-packed with noise, conference calls, notifications, kids arguing, constant multitasking. The few quiet moments she had, she filled with YouTube videos or social media, even if it was just background noise. But then, during a church retreat, she was challenged to sit in total silence for 10 minutes every day. No music, no reading, no speaking. Just stillness first. It felt like torture. Her mind raced, her to-do list screamed, and doubts flooded in. But she stayed with it. And eventually, something beautiful happened. The silence wasn't empty. It was full. Full of clarity. Full of presence. Full of God. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46 verse 10. This isn't just poetic, it's a command. Stillness is where knowing begins. James also took this seriously. He started using his lunch breaks to walk in silence. No phone, no headphones. Just him, the wind, and God. He began to hear things he hadn't noticed in months. Birdsong, his own breath, the voice of peace rising within. Here's why silence is so powerful. It declutters your inner world. It creates space between you and your anxious thoughts. It invites the Holy Spirit to bring calm where chaos once lived. We live in a world that equates noise with productivity and silence with laziness. But in God's kingdom, the opposite is often true. Jesus himself withdrew to quiet places to pray. Not because he was escaping, but because he was aligning. If you want your faith to grow and your stress to shrink, make silence part of your daily rhythm. You don't need an hour. Start with 5 minutes. Sit still. Close your eyes. Breathe. Let the stillness speak. You may be surprised what God reveals when everything else is turned off. Next, let us look at the people around you, because they may be influencing your stress and your faith more than you think.
The longest day, but here I stand. The storms have passed.
You have probably heard it before. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. But let's take that a step deeper. You also believe like the people around you. You hope like them. You worry like them. If you surround yourself with constant complainers, skeptics, or people who live in fear, guess what? Stress becomes normal. Doubt becomes contagious. Cynicism becomes your soundtrack. But when you place yourself around belief builders, people who remind you of who God is, what He has done, and what He has promised, your faith gets stronger without you even realizing it. Sarah learned this the hard way. She had friends who meant well, but every conversation turned into venting, gossip, and catastrophizing. After a while, she noticed that even when she wasn't stressed, they would reignite her anxiety. It was like she could never catch a break. So she made a quiet shift. She didn't cut people off completely, but she prioritized voices that poured life into her. She joined a small online prayer group, just 5 women who shared scripture, prayed over each other, and checked in weekly. And that one move transformed her perspective. Not because they were perfect, but because they reminded her of truth. James had a similar experience. He started listening to a Christian podcast during his commute instead of sports talk radio. He joined a men's group at church. He reached out to a mentor who had walked through similar stress and come out the other side with wisdom and peace. These were not massive life changes, but they made a massive impact. Why? Because community is spiritual oxygen. You were not made to carry everything alone. God designed us for connection, encouragement, and accountability. Even in the Bible, faith was rarely an individual act. It was the woman who touched Jesus' robe in a crowd. It was the friends who lowered the paralyzed man through the roof. It was the early church. Breaking bread and praying together daily. You need people who will lift your arms when you're tired, who will pray for you when you cannot find the words, who will say, I have been there. You are not crazy. God is still in this, so take inventory. Who are your people? Are they building your belief or breaking it down? Do you leave conversations with more peace or more panic? Surround yourself with people who stir your spirit, not just your emotions. And if you don't have those people yet, pray for them, seek them. Be one. Now let us move to the fifth and final way to reset your soul, the mindset shift that's available anywhere, anytime, gratitude.
But here I stand. The storms have passed.
Gratitude is not just a nice thing to practice. It is a spiritual weapon when life feels overwhelming, when stress starts closing in, when you cannot see a way forward. The fastest way to shift your atmosphere is to shift your focus, and gratitude does exactly that. Here is why. Stress shrinks your perspective. Gratitude expands it. Stress screams, look at everything going wrong. Gratitude whispers, but look at everything that is still right. Sarah had one of her worst days ever. The kids were sick, her boss was critical, her car broke down, all in the same 48 hours. Everything in her wanted to scream. But instead, she sat down, opened her journal, and forced herself to write 10 things she was thankful for. It was not easy at first. Her mind resisted. But by number 6, her spirit started to shift. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the people who love me. I'm grateful that I can breathe without help. Nothing outside had changed, but everything inside had calmed. James 2 created a habit every night before bed. He would list 3 God moments from the day, no matter how small. A smile from a stranger, a verse that hit differently, a moment of silence when he needed it most. That simple act rewired his brain to look for peace instead of panic. He started noticing beauty where he used to see burden, because that is what gratitude does. It trains your heart to see God in the middle of the mess. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verse 28. Gratitude doesn't deny your struggle. It just refuses to let the struggle define the whole story. When you start thanking God in the middle of stress, you invite His presence into places you thought were too messy, too broken, too far gone. So here is a challenge. Every day for the next 7 days, write down 5 things you're thankful for. Even if it feels small, even if it feels forced, do it anyway. Watch what happens. Watch how your focus shifts. Watch how your stress begins to dissolve, not because life got easier, but because your heart got lighter. Gratitude is not a trick. It is a truth, and it is always available.
Oh, I'm grateful, so grateful today.
You made it to the end. And if you are still here, it is not by accident. Something inside of you is tired of carrying everything alone, tired of overthinking, tired of the noise, tired of the pressure to be everything, fix everything, hold everything together. Maybe you are like Sarah, juggling family, work, expectations, and slowly losing yourself in the process. Or maybe you are like James, wearing a brave face, but secretly breaking on the inside. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hear this. You don't have to keep living this way. God is not asking you to have it all figured out. He's asking you to trust Him, to come to Him, to rest in Him. Be still and know that I am God. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. These are not just verses, they're lifelines. So If today felt like a breath of fresh air for your soul, don't stop here. Remember the 5 simple ways we walked through. Start your day with surrender. Feed your faith, starve your doubts. Declutter your mind with silence. Surround yourself with belief builders. Shift your focus through gratitude. They are not just tips, they are tools. Use them, revisit them, share them. And if this video spoke to you, if you felt seen, encouraged, or lifted, do me a favor, like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with your favorite takeaway. More than that, share this with someone who needs it. You never know whose life you might touch just by sending a message filled with hope. Faith does not erase the storms, but it anchors you in the middle of them. And today, maybe for the first time in a long time, you remember that you're not alone. God sees you. He is with you. And He is ready to carry what you were never meant to hold alone. Take a deep breath. You are going to be okay. Your peace starts now.
Lord, I remember every step you gave, through the valleys deep and the tidal wave.